You've probably stared at a dozen TV ads, read a handful of specs, and still feel that uneasy tug of doubt. What if you spend a good chunk of cash on a screen that looks amazing on paper but ends up being a disappointment on your patio? I get that. Nobody wants to waste money on a unit that can't handle the occasional breeze or the glare from a sunny afternoon, and you're especially wary when the TV is supposed to live outdoors, even if only partially. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the Samsung QN55LST7DAFXZA, a 55-inch Neo QLED that Samsung markets as a Terrace TV, built for shaded outdoor spaces. The first thing I asked myself was, does it actually live up to the promise of a TV that can survive a bit of weather without turning the living room into a repair shop? The rating on Amazon sits at 4.4 out of 5 from over 2,000 reviewers, which tells me a sizable group has put this model through its paces and walked away mostly satisfied. That alone eases a lot of the uncertainty because it's not just a handful of glowing reviews, there's a community that already tested the water. What makes this TV different from a regular indoor set is the Neo QLED panel paired with an IP56 rating. In plain language, IP56 means the screen can handle rain splashes and dust, but it's not meant for full-on rainstorms or being fully exposed to the elements. For a patio that gets a little drizzle or occasional wind-blown dust, the rating is reassuring. If you have a fully covered pergola or a shaded balcony, you're well within the sweet spot. I've seen people mount it under a canopy that catches a few droplets, and the TV just keeps on playing without a hiccup. The cleans without dripping claim is more about the surface coating when you wipe it down with a damp cloth, water beads, and runs off instead of seeping into the panel. That's a subtle but real convenience. You won't have to worry about water spots marring the picture after a quick clean. Now, picture your typical evening. You're cooking on the grill, the sun is setting, and you want a movie or a sports game to keep the guests entertained. The Neo QLED tech really shines when the ambient light is low to medium. The picture stays bright enough to compete with the remaining daylight, and the contrast is deep enough that blacks don't turn into a gray wash. In my own tests, the TV handled a bright kitchen window just fine when the blinds were partially closed, delivering vivid colors without the washed-out look you sometimes get on standard LEDs. For a family that enjoys backyard movie nights, the visual fidelity is a clear win. But let's be honest about the trade-offs. The 55-inch size is a solid middle ground for most patios, yet the unit does weigh a fair amount because of the extra ceiling and glass layers. Installation can be a bit of a chore. You'll need a sturdy mount that can support the weight and accommodate the ventilation gaps required by the IP rating. If you're a DIY enthusiast, you'll probably manage, but anyone who isn't comfortable with a ceiling or wall mount might need to call in a pro, adding to the overall cost. Also, the TV does not have an anti-glare coating comparable to dedicated outdoor commercial displays. In direct, harsh sunlight, think a south-facing deck with no shade, the picture can lose a noticeable amount of contrast. So if your outdoor space is fully exposed to midday sun, this model might not meet expectations. Who should buy this? If you have a shaded terrace, covered patio, or an indoor-outdoor room that sees some light but isn't drenched in sun, and you want a premium picture for movies, sports, or even gaming, the QN55LST7DAFXZA fits nicely. The built-in amber protection extension plan, which adds a year of coverage against UV and dust discoloration, is a thoughtful addition for those who worry about long-term color shift. It also makes sense for people who value Samsung's ecosystem. If you already have a Galaxy phone or a SmartThings hub, the TV integrates smoothly, letting you control it with voice assistants or the Samsung SmartThings app. For a family that spends weekends outdoors and wants a screen that can survive a light drizzle, this is a compelling option. On the flip side, skip it if you live in a climate with frequent heavy rain, if your patio is fully open to the sky, or if you're looking for the cheapest screen you can bolt onto a wall. The IP56 rating isn't a rainproof guarantee, it's more about protection against splashes and dust. If you need a TV that can handle full-on storms without a roof, you'll have to look at purpose-built commercial outdoor displays, which come at a much higher price point. Also, If you're on a tight budget and don't need the Neo QLED color depth, a standard 4K LED with a decent weatherproof enclosure could save you a few $100s.